Something that I found slightly more difficult to do in the Scratcher is to be able to move the record evenly at different speeds by just moving it straight left and right. Now, I found actually the easiest way to do that is to take advantage of the fact that that when you actually have your mouse down on the sample area, you can actually drag your mouse off of the region and it still works. So what that means is that rather than just moving left and right like that, you can also move your mouse that way, or even that way, and you'll get different sounding responses. Because I find this easier, especially with a tablet PC and a pen, to move in straight lines like that to get different sounds, which sounds like this. So this is me moving the mouse like this, like this, like this, and like this. So there you go. So see, you can get different pitches quite easily. And in a related field, if you're doing sort of moving the record back and forth like that, part of that sound, that scratch is called a transform, which is tapping the fader off and on as you're moving the record back and forth. Now, a large part of that sound is to be able to get nice, smooth pitch shift variations in the turntable. And again, I found the easiest way to do that is, rather than just moving straight left and right, is to be doing circles. So you're just doing big sort of lazy arcs back and forth, and they can be big circles, they can be small circles, or they can just be sort of variations on arcs. So even if you're doing things like you're moving in arcs like that, or you're moving in arcs like that, just any sort of curved motion as you roll the waveform back and forth will give you a different sound. So that sounds like this. So again, this is a standard back and forth transform versus moving it in circles. So this is back and forth versus doing it in circles. And then doing in arcs. So it doesn't sound like much, but it does make a difference in terms of variation of tone and sound. Okay, and then apart from that, it's just a few quick scratch techniques. I covered these briefly in the forum, but I'll run through them again quickly here. So the basic sort of scratch sounds. The first one is called a baby scratch, which is just moving the record back and forth. And then, depending on how quickly and how far you move it, and if you combine it with the fader or not, then that's different sounds. So tips is the same as a baby scratch, but you're just moving it a tiny amount. Scribbles is moving it back and forth really quickly. And then an Uzi is a scribble, but turning the fader off and on, so that you're getting bursts of sound. So like that. Okay. Cutting is only letting the record play forward. So it's kind of like a baby scratch, but you're only pressing the fader down when the record's moving forward. Another variation of that is rather than pushing the sample forward with your mouse, is you just let it play and then you pull it back. So this is me letting go and then pulling it back and then letting it play. Okay, if you push the record forward fast, it's called a stab. If you push it back and forth slowly, it's called a drag. And in scratching techniques, a chirp is a kind of a funny combination, but basically what it sounds like is just a series of quick stabs back and forth. So it's a fast back and forth, and you're just trying to pick up the very middle of the sound with your fader, so that it sounds like it's a chirp, like it's a bird chirp. And the next technique is a transform, which, as I said before, is a rhythmic tapping of the fader as you're moving the record back and forth. And you're trying to get as many different kind of sounds and pitches as you can. And again, that was just me just kind of doing idle, just kind of like scribbling it about as fast and as slow as I can, just getting as many sounds as possible. Then tears is any sort of stop that you put in with your deckhand. So if this is a baby scratch, a tear would be if I was to stop the record halfway through. So if I was to go, so that's putting a tear going backwards, so straight forwards, and then a stop in the middle, and then back again. Or a tear going forward. Or a tear going both back and forwards. Okay. Now, the last sort of major technique is called a flare, and this is apparently a fairly tricky technique to get down if you're using real decks, but with this scratcher setup, it's not so bad. What it is it's basically baby scratching again, just moving the record back and forth. But what you're doing with the fader is you're putting gaps in the sound, which in scratching terms they call clicks. So a one-click flare is, as you're moving the record back and forth, you're putting a gap in the middle of it. So you move forward, leave a gap, and then the sound's back on again. Then you turn around, leave a gap, play it again, turn around, leave a gap, play it again, turn around. So you've got this gap here in the middle as you're moving the record back and forth. And that sounds like this. So if I do it slowly. So that's to get that up to speed is quite difficult, but if you can record at half tempo and speed it up, it gets a different sound. It's a weird sort of a bubbly, almost kind of triplets up and down kind of sound. More so if you do what's called a two-click flare, which, as the name suggests, again, as you're baby scratching back and forth, you play it, leave a gap, play, leave a gap, and that's the end, and then you turn around, leave a gap, turn around, leave a gap. So you're putting two clicks as you're moving the record back and forth. So 1, 2, which sounds like this. Whoop! Oh, my software's freaking out there. So that sounds like this. Again, when it's played slow, it doesn't sound all that amazing, but when you play it quickly, it gets a really distinct sort of triplets, verbally up and down sound. And depending on the kind of timing which you go back and forth, at the moment I'm mainly doing two-click flares on every 1.5 beats, so that the sound is kind of rolling around the beat, and sounds kind of cool.